Chapter 2590. President Yun, no matter how much you invest, I won't change the decision that the female lead is Tang Guo. This role can only be played by her. No one else can do it. What benefits did the Rome Corporation give you? Just like last time, when the movie is released, the Rome Corporation cinema has more than 80% of the showtimes. Yun Zishan was a little angry from embarrassment. The things that had happened recently made him feel that he had been hindered by many things. It was no longer as smooth as before. In the past, no matter where he went, whether it was his face or the Yun family's face, it was very useful. He didn't know what had happened in the past 2 years. No matter what he did, nothing went smoothly. Not to mention that Father Yun and Mother Yun were unhappy, he was also unhappy. It seemed that no matter what he did, he could not achieve his goal. Instead, he would be suppressed by others. Now that he couldn't even get a mere movie script, Yun Zishan couldn't help but feel flustered and exasperated. He no longer had the strategy he used to have. Ran Shu didn't care about Yun Zishan's attitude. Yun Zishan had a high start. Since he had been in this industry, with the support of the Yun family, his own ability, and luck, he had always been smooth sailing. He wasn't like some people who were used to ups and downs. It was inevitable that Yun Zishan would be anxious when he encountered a slight setback. After all, he was still young and impetuous. At least, it's more tempting than what President Yun gave me. Ran Shu had no intention of explaining it all. Since Yun Zishan had already made up his mind, he might as well make this matter a reality. It was a fact that the Rome Corporation had given him a lot of support. Is there really no room for negotiation? Yun Zishan looked at Ran Shu's smiling face and immediately calmed down. Director Ran, you shouldn't be shooting more than this movie, right? We have a chance to work together for a long time. It would be my honor to work with President Yun one day. However, President Yun's request for me to change the female lead is indeed something I can't do. Unfortunately, let's work together next time. How could Yun Zishan not tell that Ran Shu was not afraid of him? Could it be that the other party had really signed a contract with the Rome Corporation? After so long, he knew the relationship between Tang Guo and Rong Su. Therefore, he guessed that Tang Guo was able to get the role because of Rong Su's face. Although the Rong family was powerful, their base camp was not in this city. In this city, only the Yun family and the Cui family were more powerful. Therefore, he was not afraid of Rong Su, but he never thought that Tang Guo would be able to curry favor with the head of the Rong family. Yes, in his heart, Tang Guo was able to get to where she was today because of Rong Su's support. Even the first Interstellar movie was supported by Rong Su. Unable to reach an agreement, Yun Zishan and Ran Shu bid farewell and left. Not long after, Tang Guo received a call from Ran Shu. Yun Zishan came to look for me. It seems like he wants to give the female lead role to Yun Yi at all costs. Ran Shu said calmly, Xiao Tang, be careful. He mentioned the Rong Corporation today, so he probably knows about your relationship with President Rong. He thinks that you relied on President Rong to get to where you are now, so he will use this to make an issue out of it. Ran Shu more or less knew about the matter between Tang Guo and the Yun family. The matter of Yun Yi's identity had been so big that the entire internet knew that Tang Guo had been raised by the Yun family for 16 years. Chapter 2591. Previously, the Yun family had gone overboard, causing the netizens to stand on Tang Guo's side. However, Yun Zishan was a person with some tricks up his sleeve. He was afraid that Tang Guo would suffer in public opinion. Got it, Director Ran. You don't have to worry about this. Just focus on preparing for the new movie. Okay, then I'll start selecting actors. Come over when you're free. Okay. When Yun Zishan returned home, Father Yun and Mother Yun asked him about helping Yuni get a certain role. Yun Zishan shook his head dejectedly. Ran Shu didn't agree. What's going on? Father Yun was puzzled. Even with our Yun family's investment, the other party didn't agree. Many directors wanted the Yun family to invest, but it was impossible. Yun Zishan sat on the sofa and leaned against it gently. No matter what I said, he didn't agree. He was silent for a moment before continuing. I guess the Rhone Corporation promised him something. Just the promise of the Rhone Corporation, which accounts for nearly 30% of the country's cinema chains, is enough to make him bow down. Mother Yun frowned. How is it related to the Rhone Corporation? The Rhone Corporation's hands are so long that they've reached out to us. Could it be that the Rhone Corporation is planning to enter the city? No. Yun Zishan shook his head. Do you still remember the man who was with Xiaoguo? He's the head of the Rhone Corporation, Rong Su. Similarly, he's also Xiaoguo's boyfriend. According to the information I received, they've been dating for many years. They've known each other since Xiaoguo was sent back to the county. It's actually that man. When they met at the restaurant, they didn't notice Rong Su's appearance. Rong Su rarely appeared in public and basically didn't have any interactions with the Yun family, so naturally, they didn't know him. They had never taken the initiative to pay attention to Tanggua's news for Yun Yi. Otherwise, they wouldn't have neglected this point. So, her smooth sailing in this industry has something to do with Rong Su. Mother Yun suddenly understood. No wonder she's never looked for us all these years. So she's already found a backer. Zishan, do you mean that Ran Shu didn't agree because of the Rhone Corporation? Father Yun asked. Yun Zishan nodded. That should be the case. If we can't get this script, can we pick another one? Our country is so big, and there are so many talented people. It can't be that we can't get a good script, right? Mother Yun was a little unwilling. Yun Zishan sighed. There's a lot of good scripts, but there's still something missing. Ran Shu has been preparing for his second interstellar movie for so many years. In addition, he has a group of old fans and fans in his country and all over the world. Therefore, no one can compare to Ran Shu's script. Yun Zishan shook his head, indicating that he didn't. Ran Shu did not agree, and he did not lack investment. No one could do anything. The Yun family didn't run a cinema chain, so they couldn't restrict Ran Shu. Then, Zishan, do you have any ideas? I think, this time, we should avoid the brunt of it and choose a TV script for Xiaoyi to be. To be. Chapter 2592. Yun Zishan had slowly calmed down. He couldn't fight head-on at this time. He was too anxious and impulsive before. Okay, do as you see fit. Whether it was Father Yun or Mother Yun, neither of them planned to look for Tanggua. For the female lead role, they couldn't swallow their pride and go to Tanggua. That would be too embarrassing. If they had the ability to get it, it would be best. They had no choice but to avoid it, as Yun Zishan had said. After so many things had happened, the two of them changed their previous comfortable state and fully understood the situation in the industry. They realized that it was more complicated than they thought. They had the capital and could cover the sky with one hand sometimes, but if they met a tough nut like the Rhone Corporation, they couldn't do anything. Recently, the Yun family had chosen a good TV script for Yun Yi to avoid Tanggua's sharp edge. Ran Shu thought that there would be some trouble, but he didn't expect the Yun family to not be as impulsive as before. It was most likely that they had suffered a loss and didn't want to go against the Rhone Corporation. Xiaoyi, this TV series is not bad. Act well. When there is a suitable script, I will find it for you. Yun Yi flipped through the script and nodded. Suddenly, she asked, didn't you say that you went to contact Director Ran? He didn't agree. Director Ran didn't want to change. I see. Yuni didn't say anything more. Actually, he did the right thing. It's not good to change anyone at this time. Unless it's absolutely necessary, it's best to have the original cast. Xiaoyi, don't be sad. If the Rome Corporation hadn't intervened this time, I would have been able to help you get this role. Rome Corporation. Yun Zishan explained and Yun-Yi understood. Second brother, do you mean that the Rome Corporation has been supporting her all this time? Something like that. But she's still good. Yun-Yi lowered her head and flipped through the script. Second brother, I will work hard. Xiaoyi, you don't have to always force yourself. Yun-Yi was silent for a while. Second brother, don't you think that she is very outstanding? Even if the Rome group supports her, she's better than me in every aspect. That's what everyone says. Xiaoyi also has our support. But I can't compare to her. Yun Zishan furrowed his brows. Even so, in our hearts, Xiaoyi is still the most outstanding. Yun-Yi lowered her eyes. Now that everyone knows about our relationship, they're comparing me to her. She even said that you were heartless and cold. She was such an outstanding adopted daughter, but you didn't care about her at all. For me, you did everything you could to snatch everything from her. Because Xiaoyi deserves it. Alright, don't overthink it. In our family, Xiaoyi is the most important. Everyone else has nothing to do with us. Second brother, don't steal her things from me in the future. Xiaoyi, Yun-Yi put down the script and looked up. I'm sorry, second brother. Silly girl, what are you talking about? Although I really want to surpass her, I can't. I want to let everyone know that I'm better than her. I want you to be proud of me. I want you to feel that biological children are indeed biological children. People who are not related by blood cannot compare to me. In fact, I even intentionally or unintentionally led all of you to remove all obstacles for me and make full use of the Yun family's resources. Every time I remain silent, it means that I tacitly agree with your actions. My goal is very simple. I don't want you to get close to her and think that she is good. He stopped. Well, I don't know why. Got it. A few days later, Tanguo joined the crew for filming. After a while, Yun-Yi also joined the crew. By the time Tanguo finished filming, a year had already passed. Chapter 2595. Tanguo, you're still playing dumb. We've already seen the surveillance footage. Everything you did was clearly recorded. Tang Wen said with a ferocious expression. You still refuse to admit it. Show her the surveillance footage. See if it's like what I said. The person who played the surveillance footage was Yun Zishan. When Tang Guo's figure appeared in the surveillance footage of the restaurant, Tang Guo was also very surprised. Rong Su was also very surprised. He saw that Tang Guo was indeed eating with Tang Wen, and then Tang Wen was drunk. Yun Zishan played the second surveillance footage. It was the footage of Tang Guo sending Tang Wen to the hotel room, the room where the adulterers were caught. The Yun family looked at the surveillance footage and then looked at Tang Guo with a strange expression. Yun Zishan was the one who didn't believe her the most. He had always believed in her, but he really didn't expect her to do such a thing. Could it be that Xiao Guo really resented them in her heart? It wasn't easy for Xiao Yi to let go of the previous matter. Why was Xiao Guo, now that the evidence is in front of you, what else do you want to say? Father Yun said coldly. I really misjudged you. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Xiao Yi didn't even care about those things with you, but you still want to frame her. Yun-yi was silent for a while before saying, I didn't expect it to be you. I thought, Xiao-yi, now you should understand that not everyone thinks the same as you, right? She's not a simple person to be able to stand firmly in this circle, Yun Zishan said. Mother Yun was a little sad. If you have resentment, just come at our Yun family. Why do you have to frame Xiao-yi? Even if Cui Bing was innocent, they wouldn't allow Xiao-yi to be with this man. Even if they were willing, Xiao-yi would still have a knot in her heart when such a thing happened. Why did you do this? Just to vent your anger. Tang Wen's face was pale. You just transferred your hatred for my mother to me. I didn't do this. Tang Guo said calmly. At the same time, her gaze swept across everyone present. Indeed, this matter was strange. She had felt that something was wrong before. Who was the problem? Host, I didn't detect any strange soul fluctuations. Forget it. Let's leave for today. Dear host, now the entire internet is slandering you. They're all saying that your public persona has collapsed. If it collapses, so be it. It's not important. She was still confused. This happened too suddenly, but to her, it really wasn't that important. Who was that person? Her gaze swept across the Yun family, but she still couldn't come to a conclusion. Even the system couldn't detect any soul fluctuations. It seemed like she could only rely on herself. From now on, all ties between us are severed. Mother Yun said coldly, you hurt Xiaoyi like this. This matter isn't over yet. There's a place for the Yun family, but there's no place for you. No one in the Yun family objected to Mother Yun's words. Tang Guo subconsciously glanced at Yun Zishu. Yun Zishu opened his mouth, wanting to explain himself, but the surveillance cameras clearly recorded everything, so he couldn't defend her. It's up to you, but I didn't do it. I will reveal the truth, not for you, but for my innocence. Tang Guo agreed and left with Rong Su. Xiao Guo, why didn't you just now? Brother Rong, this matter isn't that simple. Give me some time. Okay, your third brother doesn't believe you. Tang Guo looked up and smiled. The surveillance cameras are too realistic. Who would believe it? Me. Rong Su revealed a bright smile and held her hand. I believe you because I know you very well. You're not such a person. Sometimes, the eyes can lie. System, and him. Chapter 2596. Right after Tang Guo left the Yun family, a video was exposed on the internet. The video was of Tang Guo and Tang Wen having a meal together, and Tang Wen being sent to the hotel after getting drunk. Those who had vowed to believe in Tang Guo on the internet were speechless. Even Tang Guo's fans were silent at this moment. Just as Tang Guo had said, the video was too realistic. She had been captured clearly, and there was no way she could deny it. It was said that the person who leaked the video was the hotel staff and the restaurant's employees. Not long after the incident, both parties said that they had fired the staff. Dear host, this was done by the Yun family. Saying that it was a staff member who leaked the video was just an excuse. Got it. Tang Guo saw that the entire internet was scolding her for being a Black Lotus, but she wasn't angry. No matter how unimportant people slandered her, she wouldn't care at all. Among the fans who liked her, there seemed to be quite a few who had left her. This made her feel a little regretful. Dear host, don't be sad. You still have a lot of die-hard fans. They say that they don't care, but they still like you. Moreover, they say that the two videos can't prove anything. There are too many things that can be manipulated. Now, they are waiting for you to explain it personally. Tang Guo glanced at them and smiled. I have quite a lot of die-hard fans. Oh right, dear host, you asked me to keep an eye on the Yun family. I realize that my signal seems to have been disrupted by something, so I can't monitor their every move. Tang Guo was surprised. Is everyone in the Yun family like this? Yes, everyone is like this. Once I catch their traces, I will be disrupted. The system said seriously, dear host, I suspect that the person who did this is related to the outside world. I have contacted 3 ones and 3 twos about this. They said that the Yun family should have a system disruptor on them. The person who researched this should be their opponent from the Space Administration. If that's the case, the person who harmed me is actually their opponent. What's their motive? Those 2 guys said that their space administration was an existence that maintained the balance of time and space, while their opponent was an existence that destroyed time and space. They use special means to steal the power of the world. If that's the case, then the person in the video who looks exactly like you should be the result of their research, right? I don't know if she had plastic surgery to look like me, or if she had copied my appearance. There are no special powers in this world. The only thing they can use is this kind of advanced technology. Dear host, your movie will be released in a week's time. Because of what happened today, not many people are buying tickets now. The entire internet is boycotting you. During this conversation, Tang Guo scrolled through her phone and realized that there seemed to be an invisible hand pushing this matter to the peak. There was no need to guess that the person who did this was from the Yun family. Earlier, they had said that they wouldn't let her have a good time, and she felt a little regretful about it. Xiao Guo, when can I make a move? Rong Su saw that things were getting more and more wrong. Even though he knew that Tang Guo was innocent and that she could prove her innocence as long as she wanted to, she kept holding him down and not letting him move. Seeing countless people scold and slander her, he felt terrible. He really couldn't bear to see her being surrounded by everyone and slandering her. Chapter 2597. Lin Lin and Tai Axian just called to ask about it. I told them about the situation and they said that if you don't deal with it, they will come. Tang Guo smiled. Brother Rong, help me reply to them. Listen to me and don't do anything for the time being. Let them slander us. It'll help us promote the movie. You're really able to sit still. At this moment, Tang Guo received a call from Yun Zishu. Brother Rong. Xiao Guo, why did you do that? Yun Zishu's voice was a little sad. Tang Guo smiled. Brother Rong, do you think I did it? Yun Zishu was silent for a moment. I don't want to believe it, but the video. I asked someone to check it. The video was not edited. They also pulled out videos from other angles. You and Tang Wen were also there. Xiao Guo, all the evidence points to. So, did you really do this because you hate us? Brother Rong, since you've already confirmed it, why are you still asking me? I don't want to believe it, so I'm asking you. I want to hear your answer. My answer is that I didn't do that. Would you believe me? Yun Zishu was silent for a minute. In the end, he did not say a word. He said goodbye to Tang Guo and hung up. Your brother still doesn't believe you. Rong Su took the opportunity to hold Tang Guo's hand. He looked a little proud. Now you know that Brother Rong is the best, right? Tang Guo smiled and nodded. Yes, Brother Rong is the best. Regardless of whether Brother Rong believes me or not, in my heart, Brother Rong is the best. Rong Su liked to hear this, but he still wanted to solve the problem. Brother Rong, I have something to do now. What are you going to do? Meet the Yun family again. This time, she met them one by one. First, she met Yun Yi, then the rest of the Yun family. Tang Guo arranged to meet Yun Yi at noon the next day. As Tang Guo expected, Yuni did not come alone. Yun Zishan accompanied her. Do you have something to say to me? Yuni sat in front of Tang Guo and looked up at her. I thought I was relieved. I didn't expect you to hate me and use this method to deal with my fiancé. Tongzi, they are right in front of you. Can you capture them? Dear host, I can't. Something is still interfering with my signal. Alright, got it. I came to see you because I didn't do such a thing, Tang Guo said with a faint smile on her face. As she spoke, she had already examined every detail of Yuni and Yun Zishan. Do you believe me? Yuni looked at Tang Guo strangely and finally shook her head with a smile. I used to think that you were someone who didn't care about anything. Later, I found out that you just didn't act up. How do you expect me to believe you in the face of evidence? President Yun, do you trust me? Yun Zishan smiled faintly and shook his head. His fingers tapped on the table as he gently raised his eyes. You've harmed Xiao Yi so much. How can I still believe you? But I really didn't do it. If you're just meeting Xiao Yi to talk about this, then we're leaving. Don't think about using Xiao Yi to do anything. Yun Zishan sneered at Tang Guo. I know that your movie will be released in a week. Right now, I really want to suppress this matter. Otherwise, no matter how good the movie is, the netizens will boycott it. Chapter 2598. In the end, Yun Zishan pulled Yuni away. Dear host, did you see anything? No, they have too many items on them. I can't tell. The system was a little anxious. What should I do? Let's meet them one by one. After that, Tang Guo met with the other members of the Yun family. Because they had too many items on them, she couldn't tell the existence of the interference device. 2 more days passed. Not only did the matter of Tang Guo harming Yuni not subside, but under the Yun family's influence, it became more and more intense. Tang Guo's fans lost their fans very seriously, and there were many who stepped back. However, she seemed to have disappeared and didn't respond at all. Everyone thought that she was lying flat and being ridiculed. That night, Tang Guo woke up and was about to do something when Rong Su opened his eyes and grabbed her hand. Xiao Guo, what are you doing sneaking around? Brother Rong, you didn't sleep. Tang Guo turned around and asked in surprise. Rong Su's expression was strange. So many things have happened. If you don't want me to solve it, how can I sleep? Tang Guo looked at the green under Rong Su's eyes. It really didn't look like he slept well. It'll be over soon. I'm going to do something. What are you going to do in the middle of the night? Of course it's something that can't be seen in the light. Tang Guo smiled and took out her tools out of thin air, causing Rong Su to be shocked. Are you afraid? I can make things out of thin air. Rong Su came back to his senses and held her hand tightly. Xiao Guo, will you return to the immortal world in the future? Can you bring me along? System, ha 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 ha. Okay. Tang Guo suddenly disappeared in front of Rong Su. Rong Su was very shocked. Even if he believed her in his heart, he was really afraid that she wouldn't come back. He waited in the room and stared at the spot where she disappeared. Late at night, there was a knock on Yun Zimo's room. He opened the door and saw Yuni outside. He frowned. It's so late. Is there anything else? Let's go in first. Yun Zimo looked outside and let her in. He casually leaned on the sofa and glanced at Yuni, who was sitting on the other side. What's the matter? Is that really enough? Yuni looked up and said worriedly, you know that she's not simple. I'm worried. What are you worried about? She can't find any evidence. The truth is right in front of everyone. Look at the people in your Yun family who love you. Aren't they constantly stepping on her? Yun Zimo had an evil smile on his face. After this, the entire entertainment industry will be yours. She won't be able to stop you. You don't have to worry about the Yun family being nostalgic about her. Look, even Yun Zishu doesn't believe in her anymore. After Yun Zimo finished speaking, Yun Yi, who was in front of him, revealed a smile. He felt that there was something wrong with this smile. If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Yun Yi suddenly walked in front of Yun Zimo and looked up at him with a faint smile. Just as he felt that something was wrong, a slender hand had already squeezed his neck. Who are you? You're not Yun Yi. How did you find out? And why did you? Yun Zimo was a little frightened. He wanted to break free, but he found that this woman was very strong. She didn't let go of his neck at all. He felt that he was going to suffocate. Before he could finish speaking, he felt that his mental strength was restrained. He couldn't even take the opportunity to escape. Chapter 2599. Looking at the person in front of him who looked exactly like Yun Yi, he looked defeated. What do you want to do? Do you want to die? Who wants to die? Who sent you to harm me? Yun Zimo did not answer. Instead, he asked, how did you find out that I'm not Yun Zimo? I don't think there are any loopholes in my disguise. Yun Zimo was not satisfied. He had disguised himself so perfectly and even used a jammer. After all, he had interacted with the other family before. Perhaps he had that annoying system on him. Unexpectedly, he was still found out. Looks like you weren't sent by that person. He shouldn't be coming out so soon. So you should be the one who destroyed time and space and stole the world's fate. Let me guess. You helped Yun Yi to send her to the peak of her life and use her as a medium to steal the power of fate? The person pretending to be Yun Yi was Tanghua. Pretending to be another person wasn't only possible, she could also do it. Was the art of disguise that he had learned just for show? Yun Zimo's expression changed. How do you know so much? I'm still curious. How did you find out that I'm not Yun Zimo? Tanghua smiled faintly. I remember. I just had a cold. You were the one who brought me to do a blood test. Yun Zimo's expression changed. Tanghua continued, at that time, Yun Zimo was no longer Yun Zimo. Yes, the Yun family found out that Tanghua was not their biological daughter. It was from a physical examination. The original owner of the body had been in good health since young. It was just a small cold. She would be fine after taking some medicine. Yun Zimo insisted on taking her to the hospital for a blood test. This blood test naturally found that the blood type was different. Hence, a paternity test was done. Then, the Yun family found Yuni very quickly. This time, it was really too smooth. As for why this person did not directly send the original owner to the peak, it was because the original owner was almost perfect except for being a little arrogant. Without personality flaws, she would not be used by him at all. Instead, she would be found out that something was wrong. Yun Yi was the biological daughter of the Yun family. She had suffered since young and had a huge personality flaw. Hence, she desired better things. These people liked to steal the world's luck, so it would be much easier for Yun Yi to start her counterattack from the outside. Yun Yi, who had been bullied in the past, would definitely agree without hesitation when she saw such hope. She had always doubted that it was impossible for Yun Yi to become so calm in such a short time under the influence of Duan Yuhong and Tang Liming. After all, Yun Yi was already 16 when she returned to the Yun family. Since you already know, then I have nothing else to say. I've calculated everything, but I really didn't expect that the real Tanguo would also disappear and become you. You shouldn't be from that side. Otherwise, you would definitely kill me at this time. How about this, let's make a deal. If you let me go, I'll clear your name. Are you qualified to make a deal with me? Tang Guo looked at him with contempt. You're a loser. What you need to do now is to cooperate with me and prove my innocence. If you don't do it, I'll make you disappear completely. Since that's the case, don't even think about having an easy time. Do you think that without you, I won't be able to prove my innocence? Seeing how calm Tang Guo was, Yun Zimo was a little uncertain. This woman was indeed too calm. Do you know where I went that day? Tang Guo did not stop and continued, it was my younger brother's teacher's birthday. He invited me to his birthday banquet. Chapter 2600. Do you know who my brother is? Isn't it that kid, Tang Lin? Yes, he's Tang Lin, but his teacher is an outstanding diplomat. What kind of people do you think attended his birthday banquet that day? At that venue, not only was there comprehensive surveillance, but even every door needed to be verified. Do you think that the video from the hotel and restaurant is more trustworthy, or do you think that I, who appeared at this diplomat's birthday banquet, is more trustworthy? This time, Yun Zimo was really speechless. Put on a good show with me. I promise that I'll kill you and spare your dog life. If you don't agree, then I'll crush you. Anyway, I can prove my innocence. Okay, I agree. At this moment, he had lost any right to negotiate. He really did not know where this woman came from. When he returned, he would definitely report it to the higher-ups. If he could not rope her in, he would kill her so that she would not be discovered and recruited by the other party. In the middle of the night, a video suddenly appeared on all the major social media platforms. The netizens who were bored and browsing the internet opened the video and their eyes widened. Fuck, what kind of peerless melon is this? There were two people in the video. One of them was very familiar. Who was that face, Yun-yi? Although the other face was much stranger, many people still recognized it. It was actually Yun Zimo of the Yun family. Under their eyes, the woman said to Yun Zimo, "Big brother, the disguise technique you hired someone to teach me is really useful. Everyone was fooled by me." Then, the woman started to change her appearance bit by bit. Her original face actually became Tang Guo's. Even her expression and actions were exactly the same as Tang Guo's. A smile appeared on her lips. Now, she can't wash her innocence. Although the video was very short and there were not many words, many netizens understood something. You're really ruthless. Yun Zimo's expression changed. With just a short video, Yun Zimo, Yun-yi, and the Yun family can forget about making a comeback. Isn't it all because of the sins you brought upon yourselves? You provoked me. Now you should let me go, right? I only said that I wouldn't kill you. I didn't say that I would let you go. After speaking, Tang Guo suddenly asked, "Where's the real Yun Zimo?" "In my body, I've always been suppressed." "Then I'm relieved." You, under the pained expression of Yun Zimo, Tang Guo extracted his mental strength. "Tongzi, send a message to the 3 ones. Tell them that I've caught someone from their enemy's family. I don't know when we'll be able to meet them, or ask them to think of a way to get it. Ask my fake brother if he wants to bring it back for research. I'll keep it for him." "Okay, Madam Host." Tang Guo squatted down and checked on Yun Zimo. She found that he was indeed still alive. However, his mental strength had been suppressed for many years and she did not know if he could wake up. Then, she put on the invisibility cloak and used the teleportation talisman to teleport away. Before she left, she even made the system block the Yun family's phone and internet signals. As for what they would do when they woke up tomorrow morning, she did not know. The moment she appeared in the room, Rong Su hugged her tightly and kissed her cheek. So my Xiaogua is a fairy. Then you have to treat me better. Otherwise, I'll fly away. Chapter 2601. Rong-su had already seen the video on the internet. In fact, as soon as it appeared, his subordinates called him to report the news. Xiaogua, I asked them to take action just now. That video should be made by you, right? The person in the video is you, right? Although it's perfect and I can't see any flaws, my intuition tells me that it's you. It's me. Brother Rong, I'm tired. Let's sleep. Okay, go to sleep. The system looked at the starry sky outside. Was she going to sleep just like that? Host, do you know how big of a thing you've done? A video made everyone on the internet lose their sleepiness. When she woke up, Tanggua turned on her phone and found that not only was there a hot search about the video and the Yun family, but there was also another hot search. She clicked on it and found that it was also a video. This video was actually a video of her attending the birthday banquet of the diplomat. Although many people's faces were mosaicked in the video, only hers and Rong-su's were not. There was also a video of them going through layers of security and fingerprint records. Shaolin was really worried about you this time. Rong-su said. This kid, I really didn't dote on him for nothing. Tanggua smiled with relief. It was useful to have a younger brother. At this time, Tanggua also found that many television stations were actually helping her promote the movie for free. She was even named by the news broadcast. Before it was broadcast, they had already started praising her. Such an honor made Tanggua a little happy. After all, Xiaoguo won glory for the country in the last movie. Whether you're good or not, those who see it clearly will naturally know. This movie is definitely at the level of a phenomenon. Our country really hopes for more good works like this to appear. Then I'll film more good works like this in the future and repay them. Tanggua smiled. No matter how much experience she had, who wouldn't like and be unhappy to be liked and acknowledged by others? Compared to the warmth at Tanggua's place, the Yun family's place was gloomy. They couldn't believe that all of this was directed and acted by Yun Yi. But everything in the video was real. Moreover, the place where it was filmed was in Yun Zimo's room. Regardless of who took the video, now that Yun Zimo had fainted for no reason, there was no news from the doctor about when Yun Zimo would wake up. Yun Yi, who had always been indifferent, could no longer remain calm this time. Her face was pale and her eyes were flustered. She opened her mouth to explain that the person in the video was really not her. But the look in the eyes of the Yun family was really too scary. Did you attack Zimo? What did you do to Zimo? Mother Yun looked at Yun Yi with a face full of suspicion. Xiao Yi, I really didn't expect that all of this was part of your scheme. For you, we never took the initiative to contact Tanggua. Why did you do all this? Do you hate us for not finding you earlier? Yun Yi bit her lips and didn't say a word. Tears kept falling from her eyes. Suddenly, she said, I just want to surpass her. Don't you always say that I'm outstanding? If I don't surpass her, how can I be considered outstanding? So you use this method to surpass her? Father Yun asked. Yun Yi gritted her teeth. It's big brother, he. She wanted to say that all of this was because of Yun Zimo's bewitchment. Otherwise, how would she have the guts to do so? Just because Zimo dotes on you, you got him to help you plan all of this, is that right? Mother Yun was on the verge of breaking down. Of her 3 sons, she actually liked Yun Zimo the most. She had handed all of the responsibilities of the Yun family to Yun Zimo. Especially when she heard that the 2 of them were even picking out gifts to apologize to Tanggua, her expression became even more gloomy. This day, Yuni didn't come back at the same time as usual. The Yun couple didn't look for her either. They thought she was just throwing a tantrum, so they didn't bother. Unexpectedly, the next day, they received news that Yuni had been kidnapped. The kidnapper wanted them to pay a ransom of 50 million yuan, or they would kill her. If it was in the past, 50 million yuan was really nothing to the Yun family. They could take it out casually. However, many things had happened recently. If they took out 50 million yuan, wouldn't they be asking for the Yun couple's lives? Therefore, they hesitated. In the end, Yuni didn't die. However, her face was slashed and she looked even more gloomy. The Yun couple seemed to feel a little guilty and got someone to investigate who did it. Not long after, Tang Wen and Cui Bing's tendons were severed and they ended up in a miserable state. Chapter 2603. When the Yun family and Yuni said that they had already avenged her, it was as if they had regained their previous relationship with her. However, after a while, the Yun couple were both imprisoned. It was said that they were guilty of intentional injury. Did Yuni report them and break the tendons of Cui Bing and Tang Wen's hands and feet? Rong Su nodded. The last time Yuni was kidnapped, it was Cui Bing and Tang Wen. They asked for 50 million, but the Yun couple didn't give it to them. Yuni must be holding a grudge. Actually, they didn't have much feelings for each other. Yun Yi's crazy actions angered Yun Zishan. In the end, he sent her to a mental hospital. Only then did the Yun family stop. However, the Yun couple was imprisoned. The evidence was conclusive and it was at this point, so the sentence was rather heavy. Now, the Yun family was scattered, injured, imprisoned, and even unconscious. Yun Zishan rubbed his messy hair anxiously. Shouldn't we have been so persistent from the beginning and hurt Xiaoguo for her? Yun Zishan glanced at him. Regret? It's useless. Second brother, liquidate your assets and file for bankruptcy. Big brother still needs to continue hospitalization. I'm not cut out for that. I'll owe more and more debts. Got it. After the Yun Corporation declared bankruptcy, Yun Zishan seemed to be unable to survive in the industry. No one was willing to look for him. The artists under him either jumped ship or were put in a difficult position by other artists in the industry. He suddenly remembered that he had offended everyone in this industry for Yun Yi. There was also Chiu Ligei. Some popular actors seemed to be unwilling to take on their roles. They were waiting for Tang Guo. It was good that they wanted to drink a mouthful of soup, so they worked hard to improve their abilities. Only then could they be chosen. Rong Su felt that he was really lucky in this life. He actually managed to coax a fairy into his hands. In the end, the fairy didn't fly away. When she left, she was in his arms. When the fairy closed her eyes, he smiled and hugged her, falling asleep. His body was not bad. Logically speaking, he should be able to live for a long time. It shouldn't be a problem for him to live for 100 years. However, after his fairy left, his life seemed to have come to an end. He didn't have any attachment to this world. Recalling that before his fairy left, she had used all of his savings to buy groceries, he found it funny and asked her why she had bought so many groceries. Helping out some refugees and doing some good deeds will accumulate good fortune for you. You can still be with me in your next life. Do you have any objections? At that time, he said, why don't I sell the company and use the money to buy groceries for you to help the refugees? How about that? Leave some for our nephews. We have 2 bachelors in our family. Leave them some money for their retirement. Just like that, they left together. After Tang Guo passed away, many people were very sad. Many TV stations kept replaying the films she had filmed. Watching them made people cry. Tang Guo's fans, They've been fans of a fake actress for their entire lives, but they don't regret it at all. Yun Zimo, who had been lying in the hospital for God knows how many years, woke up on this day. He opened his eyes and saw Yun Zishu sitting by the bed, seemingly watching a movie. His entire body was weak. He opened his mouth and only spoke after a long time, "Zishu. Big brother." Yun Zishu walked in front of Yun Zimo and lowered his head. "It's been decades. You're finally awake. Big brother, I've always wanted to ask you a question. Why did you help Xiaoyi frame Xiaoguo like that?" Yun Zimo smiled bitterly. "If I said I didn't, would you believe me?" Yun Zishu suddenly remembered that a long time ago, someone had asked him the same question. At that time, he didn't believe it, so he didn't answer. "Since Big Brother says you didn't, I believe you. Zishu, I'll tell you in the future. All of this is too ridiculous. Where's Xiaoguo? She left many years ago. You see, I'm already old." Chapter 2604. When you see Yan Wei later, don't throw a tantrum with him, understand? No matter what kind of woman is sent to him, she can't compare to you. You just need to perform perfectly and show your kindness and gentleness. Let the other party understand that they can't surpass you and let Yan Wei understand that you are irreplaceable. This time, when Tang Guo woke up, she was in the car again. It was different from the private luxury cars in the previous world. This car was probably a very expensive limousine. She could instantly tell that the Yan Wei the woman next to her was talking about was not a simple person. From the sound of it, their relationship seemed to be somewhat unusual. "I've already told you everything that needs to be said. Don't put on airs in front of Yan Wei. Ever since your father passed away, we can only rely on Yan Wei from now on. Luckily, your father died for Yan Wei. We can stay by his side for the rest of our lives without any worries." At this point, the woman's voice became softer until it was almost beside Tang Guo's ear. "But this is not enough. You have to think of a way to make Yan Wei place you at the top of his heart and become Mrs. Yan. Once you are Mrs. Yan's wife and give birth to an heir for him, no matter how many women he has outside, we won't have to be afraid." Tang Guo's lips twitched, but she did not intend to refute this woman. "Mom knows that you actually like Yan Wei. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stood in front of him without hesitation when he was in danger. Isn't that right? Luckily, it was only the blanket that time and it was wiped off. If it had hit any other place, that person would not have been useless, especially that face. Alright, that's all you have to say. Don't think about monopolizing Yan Wei. This man is in control of everything. You can't monopolize him alone. Just guard your position as Mrs. Yan." Tang Guo nodded gently and then asked, "How much longer until we arrive?" "See, I knew it. After attending the exhibition, you ignored everything and came straight back when you heard the news. It must be because of that woman who was sent to Yan Wei." Yi Yimei smiled. "Actually, you don't have to worry. Yan Wei doesn't treat that woman well. I think he brought her back to humiliate the Shi family. For the sake of their company, the Shi family gave their daughter to Yan Wei as a plaything. They probably won't be able to raise their heads in the industry for the rest of their lives." Tang Guo didn't say anything else. It seemed that things were more complicated than she had imagined. She just didn't know what role her character played in it. According to her cheap mother, Yan Wei should have a great background. He was most likely the male lead of this world. And the woman who was sent to his side was probably the female lead. Moreover, there was also a character like her. This should be a story of a sadistic love story. "Mom, I want to rest for a while." "Alright, there's still an hour before we arrive. It's best if you take a nap and recover your energy before meeting Yan Wei." Yan Wei is not an ordinary man. Don't show your weak and helpless side in front of him. It will annoy him. Tang Gui didn't care about Yi Yimei's nagging. She leaned to the side and closed her eyes. Dear host, this is another sad story. You have to calm down after reading it. Although the system knew that Tang Guo wouldn't get angry easily, it still kindly reminded her. Chapter 2605. Previously, when he came to this world, he had scanned through this story. The tragedy of the original owner of the story could be considered an unexpected disaster. Her existence could be said to be the obstacle, the stepping stone, and the catalyst for the male and female lead. Without her existence, the relationship between the male and female lead might not have improved in the end. Tang Gui started to receive the memory with doubts. The male lead of this world was Yan Wei, and the female lead was the woman who was sent to Yan Wei's house. Her name was Shi Shuoxin, and she was currently appointed by Yan Wei as a maid in the manor. Her status was very low. At the beginning of the story, Yan Wei's father and Shi Shuoxin's father talked about it. It could be said that Yan Wei's father was indirectly killed by Shi Shuoxin's father. Shi Shuoxin's father didn't expect Yan Wei's father to have such a powerful background. After he defeated Yan Wei's father, Yan Wei's grandfather appeared and took Yan Wei away. Shi Shuoxin became his grandfather's only successor. Yan Wei's father left the family to work alone because of his family's objection. He was young and had some ability, so he did make a name for himself. However, Shi Shuoxin's father bore a grudge against him. He thought that Yan Wei's father's appearance disrupted the market, so he played some tricks and caused Yan Wei's father to suffer. Yan Wei's father and grandfather were not on good terms. Yan Wei's grandfather saw that his father was stubborn and did not contact him for many years. When he was about to die, he found out that his son had been indirectly killed. The Yan family was quite powerful, and he did not have much time to live. In the end, he chose to nurture Yan Wei and let Yan Wei take revenge on his own. This was the beginning. Shi Shuoxin was sent to Yan Wei's side because her family was in trouble. Yan Wei did not intend to let the Shi family go. He agreed to this condition just to play with them. When he was done playing, he would throw the woman of the Yan family out and then swallow the Shi family up, making the Shi family despair. However, he did not expect that there were so many ties between him and Shi Shuoxin. When Shi Shuoxin was sent to the manor on the first day, he made her his woman. It was not that he liked Shi Shuoxin, but he wanted to humiliate her. Shi Shuoxin was a weak-looking woman. She was only 19 years old, but she was sent to his side for the sake of her family. The man who originally looked gentle and elegant actually treated her like that the moment he arrived. However, she had come willingly for the sake of her family, so no matter how Yan Wei tortured and humiliated her, she did not resist. Especially after the original owner returned. At night, Yan Wei treated her like a tool. During the day, she would see Yan Wei pampering the original owner to the heavens. He would even let her serve the original owner tea. She was clearly telling her that she was just a lowly servant girl who slept in the same room. Under this kind of torture, even if the original owner was sad, Yan Wei was willing to be intimate with the daughter of his enemy. He had always had a pure relationship with her and didn't put Shi Shuoxin in his eyes. He didn't deliberately torment Shi Shuoxin. When the servants in the manor saw how much Yan Wei disliked Shi Shuoxin, they gradually began to bully and torture her, making her life miserable. In the end, when Yan Wei asked Shi Shuoxin to bring him a cup of hot coffee from the manor, she fell ill outside his office. Chapter 2606. This was the first time Yan Wei felt flustered about Shi Shuoxin. He sent her to the hospital without stopping. After this time, Yan Wei was much gentler to Shi Shuoxin, whether it was day or night. There was even a period of time when Yan Wei seemed to have forgotten the hatred between the two families. He treated Shi Xuexin better and even fired the servants who bullied her. Then, Shi Xuexin felt a trace of sweetness in her heart. The reason why she felt something for someone who hurt her was because she was actually not liked by Shi Xuexin's father. Everyone knew that Shi Xuexin's father's first wife had been in a coma for 15 years. Many people advised him to give up. His wife could not wake up. But he still did not give up. Even another infatuated woman who had been silently accompanying him did not have the chance to get a status. They thought that Shi Xuexin was the only eldest daughter of the Shi family. In fact, her cheap father had been with the woman who accompanied him for a long time and had a daughter. It was just that she was raised in another place and no one found out. Moreover, the story was quite complicated. It involved the reason why the male and female lead would bury the hatchet in the future. Yan Wei was tempted by Shi Xuexin and was gentle to her. The original owner, who was watching silently, clearly felt Yan Wei's thoughts. She didn't have the consciousness to do anything to Shi Xuexin. At most, she would give her a warning or two. In addition, she was a little reserved and couldn't put down her airs to ask for anything. However, she still took the initiative to ask for Yan Wei. But Yan Wei, this man, actually didn't like her. There were only two reasons for raising her in the manner. First, her father did die for him, and she was also a person who was sincere to him. After all, she stood in front of him without hesitation. Second, he needed a weakness. The original owner happened to be his weakness. Even if someone threatened him, he wouldn't be threatened in the end. Yes, this man was cold-blooded and heartless. Even when treating the daughter of his savior, he was more of a use. If he hadn't been so deeply involved with Shi Xuexin, he might not have been able to go to the end with Shi Xuexin. It could also be said that such a cold man, once moved, would be more affectionate than anyone else. Moreover, when the truth came out, how deeply he had hurt Shi Xuexin, all the guilt would turn into love for her, and their feelings would naturally deepen. Later on, Yan Wei suddenly remembered that Shi Xuexin was the daughter of his enemy. In his confusion, he began to humiliate and torture her. Shi Xue was heartbroken and sad. Every day, she would secretly wipe her face. However, at this moment, something else happened. Shi Xuexin and the original owner were kidnapped by Yan Wei's enemies at the same time. The other party seemed to have noticed that the two were kidnapped in different directions. Given the situation at that time, he could only appear on one side to save them. The other side sent other people over. In the end, he chose to save the original host. After all, at this time, he was denying himself. He was angry at himself for having feelings for the daughter of his enemy. The host was saved safely, but Shi Xuexin's situation was not good. In the end, Shi Xuexin was sent to the hospital with blood all over her body. Yan Wei regretted it again. Looking at the dying Shi Xuexin, his heart was filled with pain. This was the second time that he was soft-hearted towards Shi Xue and worried about her safety. Chapter 2607. Yan Wei regretted not saving her at that time. He realized that even if she was the daughter of his enemy, he seemed to be moved by her. At this time, Yan Wei was still very conflicted. Later on, his love rival appeared and various things happened between him and Shi Xuexin. Shi Xuexin became more and more important in his heart. But he still didn't clear up the misunderstanding and let the outside world think that the original owner was the woman he cared about the most. Even by chance, he found out the truth about Shi Xuexin in the Shi family. This made him feel less guilty towards his father. He secretly decided that after everything was over, he would give Shi Xuexin an explanation. Now for her safety, he didn't want the public to think that she was the most important in his heart. Thus, Shi Xuexin and the original owner were kidnapped for the second time. This time, Yan Wei didn't hesitate and chose to save Shi Xuexin first. Because at this time, the original owner was seen as a weakness on the surface and was the one who took the bullet for Shi Xuexin. Because of saving Shi Xuexin, he missed the best time to save the original owner. The people who kidnapped her seemed to be up to no good. They bullied her, and after bullying her, they sold her and took many photos to send to Yan Wei in an attempt to humiliate him. In the end, the original owner was saved by Yan Wei. She also seemed to have found out that she was the one who took the bullet for Shi Xuexin. The original owner, who had experienced all these tragic events, could no longer maintain the cold beauty of the past. Her heart began to gradually collapse, and the once clear and transparent eyes began to have many more emotions. She started to deliberately make things difficult for Shi Xuexin and blamed Yan Wei in her heart. But now Shi Xuexin was Yan Wei's treasure, and naturally, she couldn't get anything good. The original owner was a weak woman with no power and no power. How could she deal with Yan Wei? Even after she slandered him, she used all means to stir up trouble. In the end, Yan Wei couldn't bear it and drove her out of the manor. Because she was too beautiful, a weak woman was driven out. What else could she do? In desperation, she jumped into the sea when no one was looking. Yi Yame was a vain person. She even wanted to reap without sowing. She was a person who had many schemes in her heart. As for Shi Xuexin and Yan Wei, later on, they still stumbled. Without the original owner, there were all kinds of obstacles. Yan Wei had abused and loved Shi Xuexin. He loved and abused her. In the end, he didn't know how it came to fruition. After reading the plot, Tang Guo opened her eyes. Coincidentally, the car had already arrived at the manor. Come, look in the mirror and touch up your makeup. When you appear in front of Yan Wei, you must be beautiful and clean. He hates dirty things. Tang Guo glanced at Yi Yame. She felt that if her cheap mother were 20 or 30 years younger, she might not have asked her to come. Instead, she would have come by herself. Tang Guo did not refute. She obediently looked at herself in the mirror and touched up her makeup. She hadn't figured out what to do yet, so she decided to check on those two first. In short, Yan Wei was definitely out to get him. As for Shi Xuexin, she was no different from her. She was just a caged bird being manipulated. She had never taken the initiative to harm the original owner of the body. Through her memories, she had suffered a lot. However, Shi Xuexin, who had suffered so much, was still able to be together with Yan Wei. In the end, they even had a child and got married. Forgive her for not being able to understand. Could it be that this was the greatness of love? No matter how many times one was stabbed, it could not stop the footsteps of true love. Chapter 2608. Walking into the manor, she could see the servants who were busy in the manor. Seeing that she was back, everyone smiled at her eagerly and addressed her respectfully, Miss Tang. Hello, Miss Tang. Welcome back, Miss Tang. Tang Guo maintained a cold expression on her face as she gently bowed her head to these people. Then, with light steps, she went straight inside. When she entered the living room, she did not see Yan Wei. Instead, she saw a girl in a servant's uniform who was mopping the floor. She was very young and unfamiliar in her memory. She looked very beautiful. She should be Shi Xuexin. Shi Xuexin seemed to have noticed her too. She looked up instinctively and saw a beautiful woman in a white dress standing at the door. She took a step back instinctively. This is Miss Tang. You can call her Miss Tang. A servant said to Shi Xuexin in a condescending manner while flattering Tang Guo. Why aren't you warming a glass of warm milk for Miss Tang? It's so cold. Do you want Miss Tang to freeze to death? No need. There's a heater in the room. Just as Shi Shuoxin was about to move, Tang Guo stopped her and asked, "Where is Mr. Yen?" "Miss Tang, Mr. Yen is in the study." "Then go warm a glass of warm milk. I'll bring it to him later." The servant did not expect Tang Guo to ask her to do it directly. But she still smiled and planned to ask Shi Shuoxin to do it after Tang Guo went upstairs. Unexpectedly, Tang Guo said, "Go warm it. Don't give it to others." "She's new here, right?" Tang Guo glanced at Shi Shuoxin. "I'm afraid that she can't grasp the temperature that Mr. Yen likes." Now, the servant did not dare to ask Shi Shuoxin to do it. Before going upstairs, Tang Guo glanced at Shi Shuoxin. Shi Shuoxin was also sizing her up. In fact, after being in the manor for so many days, she had heard about Miss Tang from many people. It was said that she was a very young artist. This time, she seemed to have gone abroad to hold an art exhibition. Didn't she say that she would be back next month? She was like the hostess here. Shi Shuoxin suddenly understood something. However, if she had a choice, she wouldn't want to be here. However, she had no choice but to come. This Yan Wei was a vicious wolf. She had initially thought that he was a gentle and refined person. Since Miss Tang was a young and beautiful artist, why would she follow a wolf like Yan Wei? Isn't she afraid to be around a wolf like that? Yan Wei was such a terrifying person. Could it be that the other party did not want to escape? Based on her intuition, she realized that this Miss Tang seemed to be different from what she had imagined. She didn't seem to have any hostility towards her. She didn't know if it was just her imagination, but she felt like the other party was warning the servant. Soon, Shi Shuoxin threw these thoughts to the back of her mind. Thinking about how she was humiliated by Yan Wei every day, she bit her lips. She didn't know when these days would end. Tang Guo didn't know what Shi Shuoxin was thinking. When the warm milk was delivered, she sent it to Yan Wei. He knocked on the door, and a low voice sounded from inside. "Who?" "Mr. Yen, it's me. Xiao Guo." Yan Wei was surprised at first. Then he seemed to understand something and said, "Come in." Tang Guo held the warm milk in front of him and sized up Yan Wei at the same time. "Sir, don't always be busy with work. When it's time to rest, you still have to rest. Take care of yourself." "Okay." Yan Wei replied simply and drank the milk she brought over. "Didn't you say that you'll be back next month? The exhibition is already over. There's no need to stay here. The outside can't be compared to home." Yan Wei nodded and didn't ask any more questions. As if thinking of something, he stood up and suddenly grabbed Tang Guo's hand. Under Tang Guo's surprised gaze, he led her out of the study and into the living room. "You, come here." Yan Wei pointed at Shi Shuoxin, who was cleaning in the living room. His voice made Shi Shuoxin tremble. If it weren't for her quick reflexes, she might have knocked over the things in her hands. Chapter 2609. She's a newcomer to the manor. "Xiao Guo, you can ask her to do anything for you in the future." Yan Wei stood on the stairs with Tang Guo and looked down at Shi Shuoxin, who was covered in dust. Tang Guo, who was standing beside Yan Wei, was wearing a snow-white dress. The contrast was particularly striking. Even Shi Shuoxin felt a little awkward as an ugly duck standing in front of a white swan. She didn't know why Yan Wei would specifically ask Tang Guo to do this, but she didn't think much of it. She had agreed to all of this willingly. As long as her cheap father kept his word, she would stay here obediently. No matter what Yan Wei did to her, she wouldn't resist. Anyway, she would live like that in the Shi family. Even if she wasn't given to Yan Wei, her mother and daughter wouldn't let her have an easy time. And her cheap father wouldn't care about her life at all. Did you hear that? Yan Wei seemed to have noticed that Shi Shuoxin was distracted. He frowned slightly and looked a little impatient. It wasn't hard to see the disdain and disgust in his eyes. I heard it. Shi Shuoxin sighed in her heart and nodded quickly without any complaints. It was her submissive attitude that made Yan Wei a little unhappy. And on the Shi family side, that man seemed to be very attentive to him, as if he was trying to curry favor with him. Just wait a little longer. When he was done teasing them, he would let the Shi family understand what it meant to be hopeless. Just like how that man teased his parents back then. Xiao Gua is the mistress of this manor. He seemed to want to deal a heavy blow to Shi Shuoxin. You have to listen to whatever she asks you to do. It was rare for Yan Wei to show some warmth on his face. The way he looked at Tang Guo was much gentler than the way he looked at Shi Shuoxin. Even though he knew that Yan Wei had his own motives for saying all this, he still had his own reasons for doing so. But Tang Guo still showed some surprise and joy at the right time. Her expression was just right and suited her current persona. System, just wait and see. It's going to collapse sooner or later. I've never seen the host maintain his persona from the beginning to the end. Even when he was still a muddle-headed system back then, the host's persona hadn't been completely maintained during their first mission. It was just that it collapsed slightly at that time. But now, it collapsed whenever he wanted to. Once it collapsed, it would collapse. Not long after Tang Guo was sent back to her room, Shi Shuoxin was still working in the living room, feeling a little uneasy. So, it seemed that Miss Tang was really Yan Wei's. She bit her lip. She didn't quite understand. Since Yan Wei cared so much about Miss Tang, why did he still force her? Wasn't this betraying his lover? Also, what Yan Wei said today was because of her appearance. Would Miss Tang find trouble with her? She was a little nervous and didn't want to be enemies with that beautiful woman at all. He felt that the other party was a little pitiful. Perhaps, she should understand that a man like Yan Wei, how could he only have one woman by his side? As long as he wanted, the woman who was willing to stay by his side. In her opinion, Miss Tang didn't look like someone who stayed for vanity's sake. Wasn't she a very young artist? She should be able to support herself and meet her needs, right? Under Shi Shuoxin's uneasiness, Tang Guo didn't come downstairs even once. Chapter 26:10. Only when it was time for dinner did she come down. Yi Yamei appeared at the same time as her. They sat down together, but Yan Wei had not come down yet. Yi Yamei looked at Shi Shuoxin from head to toe and said, "Are you new here?" Shi Shuoxin nodded. She felt that Yi Yamei did not look friendly, so she answered carefully. "Oh." Yi Yamei looked at Shi Shuoxin and heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed, Yan Wei did not care about this woman. He probably hated her. "I'm a little thirsty. Go get me a glass of water." Yi Yamei decided to show Shi Shuoxin who she was. She wanted to let her know who was the mistress of this manor. She did not care how many women Yan Wei would have in the future. As long as they did not surpass her daughter and wanted to be the mistress of this manor, she would be obedient. Shi Shuoxin quickly went to get the water. Tang Guo glanced at Yi Yamei. This mother of hers was really a villain. She was showing off her villainous side to the fullest. Not long after, Shi Shuoxin came back with the water. Yi Yamei poured the water for her. Yi Yamei took a sip and frowned. "Why is it so hot?" "You." Before she could finish her sentence, Tang Guo stopped her. Mother, let it cool down if it's hot. It won't be hot after a while. Yiyame did not expect Tangua to stop her. Suddenly, she saw a surprised and grateful look in Shurshuashin's eyes. She was no longer angry. Xiaogua is so thoughtful. Then, let it cool down. Just cool it down. Shurshuashin let out a long breath. She was right. Miss Tang was a beautiful and kind person in this manner. She was used to seeing the mother and daughter's faces. How could she not know that Yiyame was making things difficult for her? But she was used to it and was prepared for it. She did not expect that Miss Tang, whom she met for the first time, would help her out twice. Ever since she was young, besides her mother in her memory, no one else had thought of her in this way. System, host, the way Shurshuashin looks at you is a bit strange, isn't it? Tangua subconsciously glanced at Shurshuashin. She saw Shurshuashin give her a sweet smile with some gratitude. Then, she quickly lowered her head and pretended that nothing had happened. System, isn't it strange? Host, why is Shurshuashin smiling foolishly at you? Tangua said, maybe she's trying to find joy in her misery. She suddenly realized that I'm pretty, so she smiled at me. System, to be honest, he doesn't really believe it. The host is spouting nonsense again with a straight face. The first day passed peacefully just like that. To prevent Yiyame from causing trouble for her, Tangua even talked to her. Mom, don't make things difficult for Shurshuashin. Don't order her around. Just treat her as if she's invisible. Yiyame was a little surprised. Didn't you feel uncomfortable because of this woman? Isn't Mom helping you vent your anger? Chapter 26:11. She had heard from the servants in the manor that the girl had not had a good day ever since she entered the manor. All right, I won't torment her in the future. She doesn't have a good day anyway. Not only can't you torment her, but you can't instigate others either. Tangua looked at Yiyame seriously. In Mr. Yan's eyes, I'm a very simple person. If I do something to bully someone, he will think that I ordered you to do it. He won't let me stay by his side for long, right? Yiyame was frightened by her words. If they were chased out of the manor, how were they going to live? Yiyame's arrogance and smugness disappeared and she became serious. Xiaogua, you're right. It's easy for him to find out anything in this manner. We can't escape from him no matter what we do. Seeing that Yiyame really understood, Tangua was slightly relieved. In the storyline, after the original Yiyame jumped into the sea and died, the cowardly and vain Yiyame dared to poison Yen Wei in order to take revenge. She couldn't just stand by and do nothing. She wasn't a good person, but there was some sincerity in her. Especially for such a Philistine person, it was rare. Mom, if you have nothing to do, go to the beauty salon and go shopping with those aunties. Also, don't talk about Mr. Yen bringing women back. Just live your life well. I'll take care of the manor, so you don't have to worry. Alright, Xiaogua has really grown up and matured. She knows what's best for her. System, that's because the host is afraid that you'll cause trouble and ruin her plans. It's not because of that idiot Yen Wei. Late at night, Tangua heard a struggling sound and opened her eyes. She could only blame her sharp eyes and ears. Even if the original Yiyame didn't have such abilities, when her soul landed in this body, not only did her eyes and ears become smarter, her movements also became more agile. Not only did the sound not become softer, it became louder and louder. Judging from the direction, it should be coming from Yen Wei's room. There weren't any screams, just the sound of a woman enduring humiliation. At first, there was some struggle, but in the end, there was silence. After a long time, Tangua heard the door open. Judging from the light footsteps, it should be Shuashin. Shuashin tugged at her tattered clothes and carefully went downstairs. Suddenly, she felt something. She looked up and saw a woman standing not far away. If she hadn't covered her mouth in time, she would have screamed. Her eyes flashed with panic. From their previous contact, this Miss Tang should like Yen Wei very much, right? Now that he saw her like this, what would he think? He thought that she was a vixen and hated her. He might even make things difficult for her tomorrow. Thinking about it, Shuashin actually felt a little sad. Miss Tang, who had helped her out twice today, would probably join the army of people who hated her tomorrow. She thought that Tang Guo would come over to warn her, but in the end, Tang Guo turned around and went back to her room. Her voice drifted into her ears. "It's cold. Why don't you go back to your room?" For some reason, Shuashin didn't feel sad before, but now, her heart was extremely sour. She was too narrow-minded. Miss Tang did not intend to make things difficult for her. She even cared if she was cold and asked her to go back to her room. Shuashin didn't know if it was because of his words, but she quickly ran back to her room. Chapter 26:12. The next day, Shuashin was still a little uneasy. Later, she realized that Tang Guo did not cause her any trouble at all. She even called her over when the other servants wanted to make things difficult for her and asked her to help her dry the paintings. Now, she took out the paintings that Tang Guo painted to dry. Looking at the paintings, she could not help but be entranced. Miss Tang was not only good-looking, but her paintings were also beautiful. No wonder she could hold an exhibition abroad. But why did she fall in love with someone like Yen Wei? It was such a pity. Shuashin sat on a small stool and held her cheeks. Her eyes swept over every painting. There were all kinds of paintings. This day was probably the most relaxing day she had ever had. She had been drying the paintings the whole day and no one dared to make things difficult for her. Because Miss Tang had said in a cold tone in front of everyone, "My paintings are very important. You have to guard them and dry them. You can't afford to be responsible if something goes wrong." Because Tang Guo valued these words too much, those who wanted to make things difficult for Shuashin did not dare to come up. If they damaged Miss Tang's paintings, they would definitely be in trouble. They wanted to frame Shuashin, but there were people everywhere in the manor. Also, Miss Tang really valued those paintings too much. She even exposed Shuashin to the camera's range. At that time, she said, "There are cameras here. Don't think about slacking off." Everyone thought that Shuashin had provoked Tang Guo and deliberately made things difficult for her. But Shuashin did not think so. She always felt that Miss Tang did this to help her. No one in the manor was nice to her. They all looked at her as a joke. Although she could not slack off in front of the camera, she would not be framed, right? Did Miss Tang know that those people wanted to make things difficult for her? Before this, she had indeed been framed. Today, all he needed to do was to find a shady spot and sit there, guarding the paintings. She did not need to mop the floor, clean the bathroom, scrub the toilet, or do all kinds of chores in the manor. It was really relaxing. Shuashin looked at her hands. It was very cold and she often touched water, and it was cold water. It caused her hands to have some frostbite. Fortunately, the weather was good and there was sun. She felt more comfortable during the day, but she was also busy and tired during the day. As the sun slowly set in the afternoon, Shuashin began to put away these paintings. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. "Your hands are so rough. You'll ruin my painting." System, yes, he suspected that the host had once been a straight man. A man who spoke like that didn't have a girlfriend. Even if he did have a girlfriend, she would run over halfway. Shi Xuexin did not take these words to heart at all. Chapter 26:13. The people in the manor only knew that Tang Guo was coldly scolding Shi Xuexin. After Shi Xuexin carefully put away the paintings, she quickly ran to Tang Guo's room. The people outside didn't know what happened inside, but they vaguely heard the words paintings and damaged. They were shocked. Did that clumsy woman, Shi Xuexin, damage Miss Tang's paintings? Now that Miss Tang had called Shi Xuexin to her room, they didn't know how she was going to torture Shi Xuexin. They knew that Shi Xuexin wouldn't have a good life now that Miss Tang was back. What they didn't know was that Shi Xuexin was looking at the 2 bags of various skincare products in front of her in a daze. There were so many of them, and they were all famous brands. They were super effective and hadn't even been opened. But Miss Tang said that they were unused and useless. Miss Tang, do you think there's a mistake here? There's no mistake. These things aren't suitable for me. Shi Xuexin swallowed. Many of them haven't been opened. Is there a problem? If you don't feel comfortable, you can open all of them here and take them away. After pausing, Tang Guo glanced at Shi Xuexin. I have a lot of things for you to do in the future. Your hands must recover as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll damage my paintings. My paintings are very expensive. You can't touch them with your rough hands. Do you understand? Yes. Therefore, in order to make her work hard for the other party, Miss Tang gave her these skincare products to maintain her hands. An ordinary person like her would never be able to understand the thought process of an artist. Do you know how to use them? Yes. Then let me see. Shi Xuexin chose a suitable one to wipe her hands. She opened the packaging and wiped her swollen hands. Although it wouldn't be effective immediately, she felt comforted and felt that she would recover soon. After Shi Xuexin left happily, the system said, "Host, I feel that you're going to cause trouble. Why are you so good to Shi Xuexin? If I didn't know that only the cutie could move you, I would have thought that you had changed your taste. What else can I do? I see that the female lead is a little silly, so I want to coax her over. System, I don't think she's that stupid. She's a bit different from the plot. Speaking of which, with her personality, how could she have a happy ending with Yan Wei? Because you can only see the surface from the plot. How can you not know that under the surface of the happy ending, there is a heart that has long been broken with thousands of holes? Look at her. Why is she enduring all of this in silence? What else could it be? It was because her mother was in her father's hands. If she didn't obediently come over and become Yan Wei's little slave, her father would give up on her mother. After that, her cheap father was pranked by Yan Wei, and her mother still didn't wake up. Do you think she can guarantee her mother's hospital fees on her own? She probably doesn't have a choice. What if it wasn't? What does that have to do with anything? It's best if you can coax him to come over, but if you can't, forget it. System, host, you're getting more and more fearless. What's there to be afraid of? I just want to do what I want to do. No matter if I win or lose, even if one day I'm defeated and disappear, it's my choice. I have no regrets. Chapter 26:14. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Tongzi, do you think we should continue living in fear after traveling through so many worlds? That's so boring. If we don't do something, we'll be letting down these experiences. The system had been persuaded long ago. The host was right. It was impossible not to do anything. What about after coaxing Shuashin over? After that, we'll mess with Yen Wei. Doesn't he like to play with women? I wonder if he'll be played with by a woman one day. The system believed that this day would come. He was a little optimistic about Shuashin. This woman looked at the host with stars in her eyes, like a lackey. He even suspected that Shuashin was the cow that the host liked in this world. After getting along with Tang Guo for a while, Shuashin realized that Tang Guo was really helping her. Although she seemed to be indifferent to her and would sometimes pick on some small problems. But every time she seemed to be picking on small problems, she was actually helping her out. The most embarrassing thing was that she would occasionally come out of Yen Wei's room in a sorry state and bump into Tang Guo. In the past, she didn't care about these things. But when she thought about how she appeared in front of that clean person like that, she felt a little ashamed and couldn't face it. She didn't expect that the other party could help her more. She was Yen Wei's plaything, a slave that he used to vent his anger on. As for Miss Tang, she lived in this manner. What else could she be? She was still Yen Wei's woman. She couldn't beg in front of him. If she implicated him, it would be her fault. So, Miss Tang was really a kind person. Why would such a good person be Yen Wei's woman and like Yen Wei wholeheartedly? Why couldn't she have her own life and be the master of her own destiny? She didn't doubt that Tang Guo liked Yen Wei at all. Because every time she saw Yen Wei, her eyes were different. Does Miss Tang like Mr. Yen a lot? Tang Guo glanced at Shuashin. Why are you asking this? I just think that such a perfect person like Miss Tang actually likes Mr. Yen. Miss Tang, there are actually many good people in this world. It's not necessarily. If you like her, then you like her. Why do you need so many reasons? Miss Tang, you should know what kind of person Mr. Yen is. Shuashin was a little indignant. Why should such a good person be taken advantage of by that dog, Yen Wei? Yes, from the beginning, Yen Wei was a vicious wolf. Now, in Shuashin's heart, he had become a vicious dog. So what if I know? Tang Guo looked at her coldly. You shouldn't be asking about these things. The entire manor belongs to him. If you want to live well, then be obedient. It doesn't matter to me. I've already accepted my fate. But Miss Tang, it's different. You're so beautiful, and you're also a painter. You're so capable, and you still have so many years ahead of you. How many years have I been 22? Tang Guo interrupted Shuashin. She raised her eyebrows and glanced at her. You're 19, sister. After Tang Guo passed by Shuashin's face turned red. She was right. She was only 19, and Miss Tang was 22 years old this year. She shouldn't have said such things at such a young age. I just think. Shuashin quickly ran up and lowered her voice. Miss Tang deserves a better life. Staying by Mr. Yan's side is the best life for me. At this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Yen Wei walked in with a gloomy face. Shuashin was so frightened that she took 2 steps back. Her face turned pale. Oh no, what she said just now must have been heard by this vicious dog. Chapter 26:15. When she thought about how this man, who was like a vicious dog, treated her that night, her body trembled. Now, she was starting to resist. She didn't want to be manipulated like before. But she had always been a pawn. How could she escape? What are you saying to Xiaoguo? You're trying to drive a wedge between us, huh? Yen Wei sneered. He walked towards Shuashin and looked down at her. At the same time, he shouted, Wu Dong, come in. Wu Dong was the butler of this manor. He was Yan Wei's most trusted person. "Sir, what are your orders?" "Send Xiaoguo back to her room. In the future, don't let this woman talk nonsense in front of Xiaoguo." Although he didn't have any feelings for Tangguo, he didn't allow anyone to talk bad about him in front of her. She even tried to drive a wedge between them. She even tried to drive Xiaoguo away from him. Has this woman been living too comfortably recently? It seemed that he was being too kind. "Mr. Yan," Tangguo called out to Yan Wei. "Don't be angry. I won't listen to her. I won't take her words seriously." She glanced at the pale Shuxuoxin. She was still a little silly. There were many eyes and ears in Yan Wei's manor. They would know what she was doing. "System, don't worry, you'll learn from your mistakes after suffering some losses." I'm guessing that's what the Great Host thinks too. After all, the Great Host isn't the Bodhisattva Guanyin, so it's impossible for the Great Host to protect her. If Shuxuoxin wants to change everything, she can only save herself. Tangguo didn't refute Yan Wei. She was very obedient and let Wu Dong send her back to her room. Not long after she returned to her room, Wu Dong considerately closed the door. Then, she saw Yan Wei roughly drag Shuxuoxin into the room. What followed was the sound of the door slamming. Following the sound of the door closing was Shuxuoxin's frightened scream. After that scream, Shuxuoxin's voice gradually became softer. It was as if she had accepted her fate and didn't resist anymore. Wu Dong looked at Yan Wei's tightly shut door and suddenly felt something. He subconsciously turned around and saw Tangguo standing at the door of her room. He slowly walked up to Tangguo and asked in a low voice, "Miss Tang, is there anything I can help you with?" Regardless of what Yan Wei was doing now, no one could stop Mr. Yan from doing what he wanted to do, not even Miss Tang, who had a special status in the manor. To this day, no one could go against Mr. Yan's wishes. After this period of observation, he believed that Miss Tang was a smart person. Only smart people could stay by Mr. Yan's side for a long time. As long as she was obedient, Mr. Yan would not mind taking care of her for the rest of her life. Tangguo could sense Wu Dong's thoughts from his eyes. She sneered in her heart but did not show it on her face. She only glanced at Yan Wei's room and quickly retracted her gaze. Nothing. With that, she turned around and returned to her room. She just came out to take a look. She had no other intentions. He didn't plan to do anything and just let things develop. What Shuxuoxin was thinking and what kind of path she would take in the future, he would find out later. The system could sense his host's perverted thoughts and was still trembling in fear. What about that guy? He didn't know where he was now and when he would be able to come to his host's side. Chapter 26:16. Tangguo went to the drawing room next to her room. It wasn't until she finished painting a painting that she heard Yan Wei's footsteps downstairs. She walked to the window and looked down. Yan Wei seemed to have noticed her as he suddenly turned around and saw her standing by the window. Was this a pair of eyes like that? In addition to being very beautiful, Yan Wei could also feel that those eyes were filled with him. Thinking about what happened just now, he felt a little uncomfortable. In just a second, this discomfort disappeared. He strode out of the manor without looking back. He didn't even give her a look. Tangguo only retracted her gaze when Yan Wei's figure disappeared. She laughed softly. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. She opened the door and saw Shuxuoxin standing at the doorway. She looked at her with an aggrieved expression. "Look, you still like a man like him. He doesn't even know that you like him. Why are you so stubborn?" Shuxuoxin rolled up her sleeves and saw that her arms were full of marks. She even lifted her neck and saw that there were marks on it. Her expression was slightly mocking. This man is like a mad dog, a vicious dog. He has no taste at all. Why do you like him? You like him so much. I don't think he cares about you. If a man really cares about you, he wouldn't treat me like this in front of you. At the beginning, she was bullied by Yan Wei. Even though Shi Xuexin knew that this was her fate, she still felt wronged and sad. Now, it was different. She was used to it. Anyway, she couldn't resist. Being bitten by a mad dog was the same as being bitten. There was no difference. She blindly resisted and suffered a lot. Now, she didn't have the ability to resist. She wanted her to ask Tang Guo for help. This woman was brainwashed by that evil dog. Even if she begged for mercy and the other party really helped her, she was afraid that she would be implicated. Moreover, she really didn't think that Yan Wei wouldn't do anything to Tang Guo. If Yan Wei really cared about Tang Guo, he definitely wouldn't do such a bad thing to her, especially in front of Tang Guo. Such a despicable, immoral, and disgusting man, who was like a vicious dog, was really not worthy of Tang Guo. The entire manor belongs to Mr. Yan. I have no right to control how Mr. Yan treats you. You like him so much. Can you really bear to see him do such things with other women? What kind of soup did this man feed her? Shi Xuexin was about to die of anger. This Tang Guo was good at everything, but why did her IQ drop to 0 when Yan Wei was mentioned? Don't you feel tired, sad about liking such a person? So what? Get rid of him. Shi Xuexin's eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, "You're different from me. As long as you get rid of her, you'll be free." Tang Guo was speechless. System, ha 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 ha, this Shi Xuexin betrayed us too quickly. Previously, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to coax her, but now he realized that this woman was easy to coax. At a time like this, instead of worrying for himself, he was helping the host come up with a plan to obtain a new life. I've never thought of leaving Mr. Yan, ever since I moved into this manor. Even though Tang Guo said this coldly, Shi Xuexin could still see how infatuated this woman was with Yan Wei. She was very unhappy. Chapter 26:17. Nowadays, there was really someone who liked everything. Yan Wei, that evil dog, was he worthy of such a good person's infatuation? Shi Xuexin still wanted to say something, but she suddenly felt Tang Guo's gaze fall behind her. Her body suddenly stiffened. Could it be that Yan Wei had returned? Mr. Yan has instructed that the pruning in the garden today will be handed over to you. Wu Dong's voice sounded like a curse. Shi Xuexin heaved a sigh of relief. She then heard Wu Dong say, "If you have nothing to do, don't come over and disturb Miss Tang. If Mr. Yan finds out, you should know the consequences." Regarding this threat, Shi Xuexin really did not take it to heart. What consequences could there be for provoking an evil dog? Wasn't it just a bite? Did he really think that this could threaten her? However, she still obeyed and went to the garden to do pruning. After a period of observation, Tang Guo found that it was very difficult for Yan Wei to be liked by Shi Xuexin. She was very satisfied with this result. So, it was time for her to go out for a walk. After all, she was a young artist. She had to play to her strengths and display her talents to the outside world. After observing the original owner's paintings for a while, she could already completely imitate the original owner's style. Then, she would slowly change it, subtly changing it into her own style. This way, it would not attract the attention of the curious people. If she continued to stay in the manor, how could Yan Wei and Shi Xuexin create the sparks of love? System, I'm afraid it's not the sparks of love, but the magma of anger. It would burn someone to death if it was poured on them. You're preparing to hold an exhibition. Yan Wei heard Tang Guo say that she was going out for a while and going to many places to exhibit her paintings. He was not surprised at all. If there's anything you need, let Wu Dong arrange it for you. N. Yan Wei slightly sized up the cold and cheerless woman in front of him. She had never lost her sense of propriety in front of him. She was a smart person, so he did not mind that she had a special position in this manner. Shi Xuexin is just an insignificant person. You don't have to care. Perhaps it was Tang Guo's attitude towards Shi Xuexin that made Yan Wei more satisfied. He did not deliberately target her, nor was he bewitched by Shi Xuexin. He was still the same as before, neither arrogant nor rash. He admired such people. I understand. As long as Mr. Yen doesn't tell me personally that there's a very important person living in your heart, I won't mind their existence. You. Yan Wei didn't know what to say for a moment. She was such a pure person, but he suddenly felt that she was a little silly. What if there's someone living in my heart? Yan Wei looked at her with a faint smile. What should you do? What does Mr. Yen want me to do? If I ask you to leave the manor, will you? Even if I'm unwilling, can I change all of this? Mr. Yen was never someone I could control. Yan Wei didn't expect this answer. He was very familiar with the woman in front of him. But he was also very clear that he had no interest in her, even though in everyone's eyes, she was very perfect, impeccable perfection. If you want to leave here one day, I won't stop you. Yan Wei suddenly said, Shi Xuexin is right about one thing. I'm not worthy of your love. You can go and find a new life. If you like someone, how can you stop liking them just like that? Chapter 26:18. It's up to you. Anyway, I won't stop you from leaving in the future. In fact, he knew very well that this woman couldn't leave him. Everyone else would leave, but she wouldn't. He knew her too well. Tang Guo also felt that Yan Wei was just talking nonsense. If she really wanted to leave him now, even if Yan Wei wouldn't do anything to her, she wouldn't have a good ending. Why did the mother and daughter pair insist on staying in this manner? There was also a fatal reason, which was that they were all on Yan Wei's side. Her biological father used to work for Yan Wei. He probably did both good and bad things, so he wasn't a good person. Up until now, Yan Wei had accumulated countless new and old grudges. She was a woman with Yan Wei's label. Once she left the manor, without Yan Wei's protection, how could she have a good ending because of what her father had done? She had taken the initiative to leave. If something really happened to her, Yan Wei would not be sad or guilty. He would only sit on the leather chair and sigh. This was her choice. She insisted on leaving, and he did not chase her out. In the plot, the original owner was chased out. Even if she encountered all kinds of things, Yan Wei's thoughts would probably be, who asked her to court death and hurt the person he cared about the most? This was self-inflicted evil. Shi Xuexin knew that Tang Guo was going to hold an art exhibition. While Yan Wei and the butler were busy, she rushed into Tang Guo's room and saw Tang Guo packing her luggage. Shi Xuexin was already used to Tang Guo doing this kind of thing personally, so she went up to help. Miss Tang, I heard that you're going to hold an art exhibition. Shi Xuexin's eyes lit up. Are you talking about the paintings from before? Yes. Sigh, it's a pity that I can't see it, but your paintings are really beautiful. Actually, I also like painting, but I've been very busy, so I don't have this kind of talent now. Tang Guo looked back and said, it's never too late to learn what you really want to learn. Even if you're busy, you can still squeeze out time. Have you heard of those people who started to learn painting at the age of 60 or 80 and became masters in the end? Shi Shuoxin was stunned. I think I've heard of it before, but I'm not sure. Since you've heard of it, do whatever you like, lest you regret it in the future. Shi Shuoxin smiled embarrassedly. Actually, she didn't like painting. She just wanted to find an excuse to chat. She didn't expect to be comforted by Miss Tang. Although Miss Tang's voice was cold, she felt that she was a very gentle person. Anyway, this was the first time in her life that she had met someone who treated her so gently. Miss Tang, where are you going for the exhibition? Many places. Won't that take a long time? It'll take at least 3 to 4 months, or at most half a year. Shi Shuoxin was a little reluctant to leave after hearing that it would take so long. She was also a little anxious. She felt that once Miss Tang left, she would have no one to rely on. She wasn't afraid of Yan Wei, but she was afraid of vicious dogs lackeys in the manor. Each and every one of them was particularly good at bullying people. Before Miss Tang came back, she had been bullied badly. Now that Miss Tang was gone, she was afraid that she would not have a good life. But Shi Shuoxin didn't say this out loud. Instead, she smiled. Then I wish Miss Tang a successful exhibition. Let more and more people see your paintings, like your paintings, and recognize your talent. Tang Guo looked up. I just think that they should be taken out to dry. Bring them to see a different world. It doesn't matter if other people like them or not. Shi Shuoxin thought, can you do that? Chapter 26:19. Shi Shuoxin stood at the entrance of the manor with a pitiful look on her face. She watched as Tang Guo got into the car and left. Sure enough, a few days after Tang Guo left, other people in the manor saw that Yan Wei was either sarcastic or rude to Shi Shuoxin. They knew that Yan Wei didn't care about Shi Shuoxin at all. He brought her back to torture Shi Shuoxin. Shi Shuoxin's life got better after Tang Guo left for half a month. However, Shi Shuoxin was so busy that she couldn't stop at all. She had to do all the chores. She protested, but these people ganged up to bully her. Even though she told butler Wu Dong, he only asked her to work hard. If anyone else made a mistake, they would put the blame on her. Once Yan Wei knew about it, he would not listen to any explanation, nor would he ask anyone to investigate. He would directly convict her and think of all kinds of ways to torture her. Half a month later, Shi Shuoxin's chubby face had slimmed down to a sharp chin. No matter how effective the skincare products Tang Guo gave her were, they couldn't help her being tortured like this every day. Only then did Shi Shuoxin realize that Miss Tang's life in the manor was really too good. The people in the manor were all wolves. None of them were good. Miss Tang was such a kind person. Why didn't she become bad after living here? Shi Shuoxin even found Yi Yume, who talked to her arrogantly and pretentiously like a noble lady, quite cute. Other than rolling her eyes at her, she didn't bully her. After being tortured for a month, Shi Shuoxin's body became much weaker. She had to wash all kinds of things in the winter. Her hands were swollen. Her cheeks were thin and her skin was pale. Yan Wei saw all of this but didn't care at all. Torturing Shi Shuoxin was probably because he felt good in his heart. Sometimes, he couldn't bear to do it, but when he thought of how his parents were hurt by Shi Shuoxin's father, he could be ruthless. System, host, it's been 3 months. Shi Shuoxin has been tortured very badly. Didn't you give her your phone number? She didn't ask you for help. As long as you go back, those people won't dare to bully her. Why didn't she call you? Have you heard of a person's last dignity? The system was shocked. Host, why did Shi Shuoxin's last dignity run over to you? Perhaps I'm the most beautiful person in the manor. Tangua said with a smile as she dialed the number of the manor. As expected, at this time, the person who answered the phone was Shuashin. Hello, Yen Manor. Shuashin. Miss Tang Tang. It's me. Shuashin's voice sounded a little hoarse. Tangua asked, what's wrong with your throat? It sounds like he's sick. No, it's nothing. Maybe it's just a cold wind. Take some medicine and I'll be fine in 2 days. Don't worry, Miss Tang. I'm not worried. I was just asking. Shuashin, she's a patient after all. Miss Tang, what can I do for you? I'll be back in half a month. Tangua said, where's the butler? Tell the housekeeper to arrange for someone to help me tidy up my room. Okay. Shuashin quickly agreed and hung up the phone. Chapter 26:20. Shuashin was still a little happy that Tangua was coming back. Her life would be better in the future. But why did Miss Tang call her directly? Wouldn't Yi Yame be the one to make arrangements for this kind of thing? Shuashin didn't think too much about it. She was a little dizzy now. The weather was so cold. During the day, the people in the manor didn't want her to have a good life. At night, that vicious dog didn't want her to have a good life either. She sighed softly and looked at the manor's gate. For the first time, she had the urge to walk out of here. But when she thought of her mother who had been lying in the hospital for more than 10 years, the urge just now was washed away. She was the daughter of the Sure family in name, but she had nothing in her hands. What could she do if she walked out of here? That cheap father of hers would definitely pull out her mother's oxygen tube. Even if he didn't pull it out, would she be able to afford the expensive fees? Thinking about it, she was really a failure. Miss Tang was already a famous artist at such a young age. If she had any strong points, she wouldn't be in such a desperate situation. And she didn't have the chance to learn those things at all. That woman had already taken over her house. Today was Tangua's last exhibition. After this exhibition, she would return to the manor. The venue of this exhibition was relatively big. At the same time, there were other paintings and some collections. In short, today's exhibition was considered an exhibition market. The venue was a museum in a city. There were some rare items on display, so it was quite popular. As a result, many people liked her paintings and bought a few of them. The style of the original owner was to sell it if she really liked it. Under normal circumstances, if people liked her style, it meant that they really liked her. She was young. Even if she had some fame in the circle, she was far from the fame of those masters. The customers she met all liked her style very much. Those rich people still liked those ancient paintings and famous paintings. They wouldn't appreciate the paintings of a young girl like her. However, her exhibition attracted a few people in the same industry. They even talked and exchanged contact details in the end. It was obvious that the people in the same industry recognized her standards. A few of the paintings were bought by these people in the same industry. The exhibition was almost over. Tangua stood aside and waited for the staff to help her pack up the paintings. At this moment, the sound of running footsteps suddenly came from afar. She felt that the other party was running towards her. Just as she was about to move her feet away, a person suddenly took her away from her original position and brushed past the person from before. So much so that she didn't even have a chance to do anything. Before she could say anything, the person who had helped her had already chased after her. System, host, your phone and wallet were first touched by the person who almost bumped into you. Tangua looked at the figure running away quickly. That person is blocking me from catching the thief. Host, you don't look like you're here to catch a thief. The system sneered. If they didn't catch the thief on the spot, even if they called the police, they might not be able to catch the thief. Even if they did, the things might be lost. However, the system soon stopped worrying about this. The person who had chased after them had already returned. Miss, are these your wallet and phone? A young man with a somewhat ruffian smile walked in front of Tangua. Is this yours? It's mine. Thank you. Chapter 26-21. Tangua reached out to take it, but the man raised the wallet a little higher. With Tangua's situation, there was no way for her to reach it. Miss, tell me what's inside. You can't just say that it's yours. Also, I checked the phone. It should be unlocked with a fingerprint. You used your fingerprint to unlock it. My ID card is inside, Tangua said as she stretched out her index finger. Give me the phone. I'll unlock it. The phone was unlocked as soon as Tangua's finger touched the screen. The young man returned the phone to her and glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. I have to see the ID card inside. Suit yourself, Tangua replied coldly. She didn't mind at all. The young man opened the purse. There was a small amount of cash and change inside. After all, there were fewer and fewer places to use cash in this day and age. He went straight to the point and quickly found the ID card in the purse. She took out the ID card and compared it to Tangua. Finally, she smiled and said, This is indeed Mrs. Wallet. He put the ID card back in its original position and returned the purse to Tangua. The person just now was a thief. He was discovered when he was committing the crime. He has now been subdued and sent to the police station by the exhibition hall security. Thank you for helping me find my purse. Tangua put the purse back into an open canvas bag. The young man couldn't help but remind her. Miss Tang, a canvas bag with a long strap and no zipper is not suitable for storing valuable items when you're outside. It's very easy to encounter situations like this. If you hadn't met me today, you might have encountered a lot of trouble. System, if you hadn't met the thief, he wouldn't have been able to touch the host's phone and wallet. He would have been kicked over by the host. Thank you for reminding me. Tangua's indifferent attitude didn't change the young man's expression at all. He didn't seem to mind such a cold attitude. For some reason, he didn't intend to leave immediately. Miss Tang, is this your family's latest canvas bag? Tangua's eyes flashed with surprise. How did this man recognize it at a glance? In the eyes of many men, bags could only be divided into women's bags, men's bags, children's bags, and hiking bags. It was impossible to tell which brand was which. Could it be that this person was in the luxury bag business? Yes, Tangua replied. Perhaps the man sensed the difference in Tangua's behavior, so he walked closer to her. Under Tangua's puzzled gaze, he skillfully took out his phone. I happen to have a few models that I just brought back. They're also my family's babies. We brought them back through human flesh. We also have records of our travels abroad and videos of our purchases. Some of them are not only fashionable, but also safer to use outside. As he spoke, the man placed his phone in front of Tangua and swiped his finger across the screen. If Miss Tang is interested, I can give you a discount as a new customer. The system was stunned. Was he trying to sell something right off the bat? It reminded him of that fellow who had once promoted insurance to the host. The system was suspicious. This guy couldn't be that person, right? He carefully observed Tangua's expression and felt the rapid increase in energy. He was secretly delighted. It really was him. Only he would dare to make such an elegant and refined entrance. Chapter 26-22. I arrange to go abroad several times a month. If Miss Tang likes it, you can add me as a friend. When those brands launch new products, just contact me and I'll be able to bring them back for you. This will also save you the time and journey to go abroad to buy them personally. A young artist like Miss Tang must be very busy. It's best to leave such small matters to a buyer like me. System. Pfft. She didn't expect him to be a buyer this time. Looking at his clothes, he must have made a lot of money in this line. I'm a buyer with integrity. Maybe the price is slightly higher than other buyers, but Miss Tang, you have to believe that if the price is low, it's easy to buy fake goods. I'm not a buyer here. After you get the goods, you can take them to check. Tang Guo glanced at the man's small shop. There was a dazzling lineup of goods inside. The big ones were some international brands, and the small ones were some word-of-mouth products. Miss Tang, do you need anything? Tang Guo pointed at a few bags that were newly listed overseas. Currently, there was no stock in the country. I want these. System, as expected, the host will give face. That's right. If she doesn't give face, how can we contact each other in the future? Naturally, they added each other as friends. Tang Guo paid the money and gave the other party an address to receive the goods. At the same time, Tang Guo found out the man's name, Bai Shuo. Bai Shuo glanced at the address and his eyes deepened. It was actually the address of the Yen Manor. He worked for big brands and many madams and young ladies in the circle were his friends. When he had nothing to do, he would scroll through his circle of friends and often see fights between rich families. It was especially exciting. Regarding this Yen Manor, he also knew a little about it. The owner of the Yen Manor was Yen Wei, but there was also a very special person living there. It was said that this woman was the flesh of Yen Wei's heart and also his only weakness. As long as she wanted it, Yen Wei would find it for her. Bai Shuo's heart was a little strange. So, she was the flesh of Yen Wei's heart. I'll ship it to you as soon as possible. On the other side, the staff was almost done with Tang Guo's paintings. Bai Shuo looked at the last painting that was about to be put away and suddenly asked, Miss Tang, are you selling your paintings? Is there anything you like? Bai Shuo pointed at the only painting hanging there and quickly walked over. I like this painting of the night sky very much. If you like it, I can sell it to you. When Bai Shuo heard this, he couldn't help but smile. This was the first time he had met someone who sold paintings like this. Did he sell it to him because he liked it? If he wanted to buy this painting but said that he didn't like it, he suspected that she might not sell it to him. In the end, Bai Shuo bought the painting. After the painting was put away, he suddenly asked, speaking of which, Miss Tang is really straightforward. Aren't you afraid that I'll cheat you of your money? There are cameras everywhere. Isn't it easy to catch you? Tang Guo glanced at him. Her cold look made Bai Shuo laugh. Miss Tang, I don't think you're short of money, so for the sake of a long-term business, I definitely won't lose the big picture for a small gain. In 2 days, the things that Miss Tang likes will be sent to your house. When Tang Guo was about to leave, Bai Shuo quickly asked, oh right, where is Miss Tang's next exhibition? The exhibition has already ended. The next exhibition hasn't been scheduled yet. Chapter 26-23. Ignoring the disappointment in Bai Shuo's eyes, Tang Guo turned and left. Xiao Guo, who's that man looking at you? Your suitor. Yi Yume came out of the washroom and saw Bai Shuo staring at Tang Guo. There are so many toads out there. Tang Guo was speechless. Actually, Bai Shuo didn't look like a toad. He was already quite good-looking. Xiao Guo, you don't have to care about these toads. Yi Yamei was afraid that Tang Guo would be fooled by these toads, so she nagged for a while. After getting into the car, Tang Guo said, he's a purchasing agent. He goes abroad 2 or 3 times a month and sells big brands. I think he's not bad. I even added him as a friend. Mom, don't you like these things, and it's not easy to buy those new models in China? As long as Tang Guo asked for it, Yan Wei would definitely satisfy Yi Yamei's needs. Yi Yamei was greedy and vain. She also liked to reap without sowing, but she wasn't a fool. If he blindly let Tang Guo do it, then if he asks Yan Wei for help, his impression of Tang Guo will be very bad. She didn't want to lose too much just because of a few bags. Even though she was envious of those rich ladies who could get the new models as soon as they had the goods, she didn't say anything. Are the things he's buying for real or fake? Yi Yamei didn't believe it. I added a purchasing agent last time. Not only did he sell fake goods, but he also cheated me. I lost tens of thousands. You're just greedy. No matter how cheap those things are, they can't be that cheap. Yi Yamei smiled. Is this purchasing agent reliable? She swiped through Tang Guo's phone, her eyes fixed on the goods on the screen. He seems to have a lot of things on his phone. There are even some shopping videos and flight records. It looks like he's very trustworthy. Tang Guo's eyes widened. When Tang Guo returned to the manor, Yi Yamei had already become friends with Bai Shuo. When she was in the car, she had already placed a few orders. In the end, she said painfully, I can't spend any more. I can't spend any more. Xiao Guo sold a lot of paintings this time. I was so happy that I spent too much. Half of the things she bought were hers and the other half belonged to Tang Guo. Mom, if you want to buy it, then buy it. Anyway, I don't spend much money, and I have a lot of money in my hands. Buying a few bags shouldn't be a problem. I don't think so. No matter how much money I have, I won't complain about having too much. If I really spend everything I have, what if in the future? At this point, Yi Yamei changed the topic. We're home. Let's go. She opened the car door and got out happily. She muttered, this purchasing agent sounds very reliable. If the items are really good, I'll look for him in the future. It seems like I can save a lot of money. Tang Guo, Butler Wu Dong knew that Tang Guo was coming back today, so he had been waiting for her.